The word of the Lord is taken from Psalm 143, Eugene Peterson's translation, entitled The Message. The word of the Lord is as follows. Listen to this prayer of mine, God. Pay attention to what I'm asking. Answer me. You're famous for your answers. Do what's right for me. But please don't haul me into court. Not a person alive would be acquitted there. The enemy hunted me down. He kicked me and stomped me within an inch of my life, put me in a black hole, buried me like a corpse in that dungeon. I sat there in despair, my spirit draining away, my heart heavy like lead. I remember the old days, went over all you've done, pondered the ways you've worked, stretched out my hands to you as thirsty for you as a desert thirsty for rain. Hurry with your answer. I'm nearly at the end of my rope. Don't turn me away. Don't ignore me. That would be certain death. If you wake me each morning with the sound of your loving voice, I'll go to sleep each night trusting in you. Point out the road I must travel. I'm all ears, all eyes before you. Save me from my enemies. You're my only hope. Teach me how to live to please you, because you're my God. Lead me by your blessed spirit into cleared and level pasture land. Keep up your reputation, God. Give me life. In your justice, get me out of this trouble. In your great love, vanquish my enemies. Make a clean sweep of those who harass me. And why? Because I'm your servant. Thus far, the word of the Lord. You may be seated. Y'all know the title, don't you? But for our guests, and because this is Back to Church Sunday, and why one of the reasons why the church is important is because the Christian life was never meant to be walked alone. It was never meant to be walked alone. It was meant to be walked in fellowship and community with each other. Jesus could have done everything by himself, but he called 12 people to be with him because he was creating a community, because the church is a community. And we walk this thing called discipleship together. We never know, we never know when life is going to hit us, and we need each other. And therefore, God desires for us to be together with each other so that when we need each other, we'll already be with each other. When life hits you, you need people. You need the church. You need those who can believe God with you, and sometimes you need those who can believe God for you, who can bring their faith alongside of yours, to add their faith to yours, to help you as you walk through. A situation hit us hard. James Nichols took his life. And that hit all of us hard. It hit his family hard. Richard, Sonia, Kayla, Richard III. But it hit all of us hard. And we've been walking this thing together. because we're family. And that's what family does. And it just so happens that we've been on this thing called choosing life. Choosing life. And it happens that September being National Suicide Prevention Month, it coincides with our walking together. So we've been walking together trying to understand the factors and forces at play in the midst of suicide and suicidal ideation, and how a relationship with God enables us to choose life in the face of those factors and forces. And so this is episode 12. This is episode 12. And because my wife might be listening by way of virtuality, asking me to give another title besides choosing life, let me try to, at the end of my rope. Look at somebody and say, at the end of my rope. At the end of my rope. Whether it be loneliness, low self-esteem, betrayal, rejection, relationship breakdown, failing God, embarrassment, shame, guilt, depression, or being overwhelmed. A life with God provides perspectives and resources that empowers us to resist the pull downward and results in our choosing to end it all. No, we can choose life. For someone listening to me right now, I want to address something that may be going on underneath many of the factors that I previously just mentioned. There is another potent force with which we must contend. It is exhaustion that leads to resignation. Anybody ever been exhausted? Exhaustion is described as a deeper state of fatigue. It is persistent, overwhelming depletion of physical, emotional, and or cognitive resources. It can follow prolonged stress, burnout, chronic illness. You can be exhausted as a caregiver. There are those who are sleep deprived. That'll make you exhausted. Untreated mental illness. Exhaustion reduces our ability to cope. Exhaustion can result in impaired decision-making and problem solving. If you're tired, that's not the time for you to make a major decision. Because exhaustion can exacerbate. You'll mess up if you're tired. Sleep loss and cognitive fatigue reduce flexible thinking and increase black and white thinking when you're dealing with a matter of gray. When people can't see alternatives, a crisis may feel inescapable. You ever been in a situation and you're like, I can't figure this one out. I don't see any real alternative. Well, when that's the case, don't make a decision when you're tired. Because what will happen is you will start catastrophizing. What do I mean by that? There's always a way out. It just hasn't appeared yet. But when you're tired, you can't even think that there's going to be a way out. You just think, I'm closed in, and that's all that it's going to be. Small setbacks seem major. You ever been tired and then somebody came at you with just something minor and you blew them up? Small stuff seems major when you're tired. When you are exhausted, you are prone to extreme highs and extreme lows. when you're tired and exhausted. When you are tired and exhausted, your anxiety rises. When you're tired and you're exhausted, it can produce a sense of, I can't keep going. When you're tired and you're exhausted, it's hard to maintain relationships and seek help. You go into isolation. When you're tired and you are exhausted, your coping resources, your psychological bank account goes on E. Exhaustion is being sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. You're past your limit. You're off the edge. You feel as if you're at the end of the rope. It's the end of the line. You're out of moves. And when you get to that point, resignation sets in. You start thinking, what's the use? Why keep trying? Why keep hoping? Why keep believing? Why keep living? Nothing is working. Nothing is changing. Nothing is coming my way. Nothing is happening. Nobody cares. I might as well quit. I might as well give in. I might as well give up. I might as well throw in the towel. Anybody ever felt like that? That's exacerbated when you are exhausted. Sometimes when our kids were younger and they get into that tizzy, you knew it was nap time for them. And there are times in our lives when life has hit us in so many ways, and we are not just physically tired, we are emotionally tired. We're spiritually drained, and you need to take a nap. And if you don't take a nap, you are prone to do something that can hurt others and hurt yourself. That's where the psalmist is. He's been hunted down. He's been kicked and stomped within an inch of his life. He's been put in a black hole. He feels as if he's buried alive in a dungeon. He sits in despair. His spirit is draining away. His heart is heavy like lead. He's dangerously close to moving to resignation. He says, I'm nearly at the end of my rope. Anybody been there? Is there anybody there right now? Is there anybody tired of just being tired? Tired of nothing changing, tired of nothing getting better, tired of carrying what you've had to, just tired. Just tired. Regardless of how tired the psalmist was and how close to the end of the rope he may have been, the psalmist lived to see another day. He lived to compose another song. He chose life. And he shows us how we can choose life in the midst of our exhaustion and resignation. Listen to the psalmist in verses 4 and 5. The enemy hunted me down. He kicked me and stumped me within an inch of my life. He put me in a black hole, buried me like a corpse in a dungeon. I sat there in despair, my spirit draining away, my heart heavy like lead. I remembered the old days, went over all you've done, pondered the ways you've worked. Look at the psalmist. He's sitting there in despair, tired and exhausted. But look at what he does. He looks back. He remembers the old days. He reflected not just on the days, but on the God of those days. He made the works of God a member of his thinking and perceiving again. He looked at where he was, but he looks back and he says, life ain't always been like it is right now. He says, I've had better days. I've had brighter days. I've seen God work before. I've seen God move before. I've seen God fight before. I've seen God win before. And he shows us that we choose life in the midst of exhaustion, and we resist resignation by remembering the days of the Lord. My brothers and sisters, the power of memory is its ability to reattach that which has meaning and power and value. To remember is to make a member again. To remember is to recall, to bring back to mind. It is to relive. And while there are some things that you just need to forget, tell your neighbor, you do have those things. There are some things that you should always remember. Yes, there are some things you don't ever want to bring back on the screen. But there are some things you ought to always be able to bring back on the screen. You should remember that life hadn't always been like it is now. Life hadn't always been gloomy and grief-filled. This is especially when you're exhausted. Life hadn't always been tight and trying. Life hadn't always been dark and dismal. Life hasn't always been stormy and confusion. You've had better days. And even when life was challenging, God was right there. God sustained, God upheld, God delivered, God opened up, God held them back, God stood and God withstood. There's something reviving about remembering the past days of the Lord, because you start looking back and you see how far you've come, how far He's brought you, how much He's done, how much He's worked, how much He's provided, how much He's delivered, how much He's healed, how much He's blessed, how much He's forgiven, how much mercy He's granted you, how much grace He's extended to you, how much faithfulness He's exerted, how much favor He has shown, how much power He has demonstrated, how much glory the Lord has displayed. I'm talking about what the Lord has done. When you look back at those days, when I was sitting there just thinking about when I came at 26, how far the Lord has brought us across these years. Y'all don't know. The congregation had an $800,000 mortgage at 18% interest. I remember the first anniversary that we were wondering if we were going to have enough money to give the preacher an honorarium. How far the Lord has brought us. How much the Lord has done on our behalf. That's congregationally. But I'm talking about, I dare you to excavate your own life and you look at the stuff you've been through and you look back at where you were and where you are right now and you see how much the Lord has done for you. Don't you act like you did it all by yourself. No. There was the Lord in the background. There was the Lord in the foreground. There was the Lord underneath you. There was the Lord above you. There was the Lord all around you. You better look back and say, my soul looks back and wonders how I made it. When you look back at those days and you remember what the Lord did, you find yourself pondering the ways that He worked. How did God do what God did, Major? For the psalmist, the pondering included, how did He give Abraham and Sarah strength to conceive and give birth to Isaac in their old age? How did God bring those plagues upon Pharaoh and Egypt? How did God keep Goshen fertile when all the rest of Egypt was going to pot? How did God keep the lights on in Goshen when it went dark over all of the rest of Egypt? How did God open up the Red Sea and then close the waters on the Egyptian army? How did God bring manna every day and give them enough on the sixth day so that they had enough on the sixth day, the seventh day, and then He opened it back up on the first day? How did God make the bitter water sweet? How did God make the sun stand still on their behalf? How did God bring the walls of Jericho down when all that they did was march and shout? How did God keep the boys from burning up in the fire? How did God shut the lions' mouths on Daniel's behalf? How did God do do what God did. And whether you know it or not, you should be pondering, how did God work on your behalf? How did God keep our forebears alive as they journeyed across the Atlantic? How did God keep them during slavery? How did God hold them up under Jim Crow? How did God keep them from losing their minds in the midst of the insanity? How did God help them to endure the Montgomery bus boycott? How did God embolden them to face fire hoses and German shepherds and billy clubs? How did God make it through cross burnings and house bombings and wives and daughters being raped and sons and fathers being lynched? How have we come through still with our heads held up high? How have we not given in to the rage that we justly and rightfully feel? How are we still here? How are we still sane, still joyful, still believing? How did God do it? How has God kept your head above the water? How has God enabled you to face the worst day and the darkest night and still get out of bed and know what your name is? How has God been able to hold you at the breaking point? And when you did break, how did God know where all the pieces were and put you back together again? How has God made ends meet when you've had more month than you've had money? How has God kept a smile on your face when life turned sour? How has God done it? And in the midst of the pondering, the only answer to which I can come, how did God do it? He did it because he's God. The only answer that he did it is that he is who he is. He's God, and he's God all by yourself. I dare you to slap fire with somebody and say, that's the only answer I can come to. It's that he's God. I have no scientific explanation. I have no long philosophical treatise to be able to explain it. The only way that I can explain it is that he is God. If it had not been the Lord on your side, where would you be? I wonder, am I talking to it? He is God. He's God, he's God, he's God, he's God. We remember the days of the Lord. When we remember the days of the Lord, we understand that this day belongs to the Lord. The Lord is in this day. And as he was the God of those days, he's the God of this day. This day the Lord has made. This day belongs to the Lord. This day he's doing something. This day he's working things out. And just like I can't explain how he did what he did on the days before, I can't predict how he's going to work in this day. But the one thing that I do know is he's going to be God. He's going to be Godding. He's going to be doing his thing. He's going to be doing his thing. And that is enough for me, because I know something about his being God. He can do anything but fail. There's nothing too hard for him. There's nothing too much for him. There's no situation too complex for him. And it's with that in mind that the psalmist continues with these words. Listen to the psalmist. I stretched out my hands to you, as thirsty for you as a desert thirsty for rain. Hurry with your answer, God. I'm nearly at the end of my rope. Don't turn around. Don't turn away. Don't ignore me. That would be certain death. If you wake me each morning with the sound of your voice, I'll go to sleep each night, trusting in you. Point out the road I must travel. I'm all ears, all eyes before you. Save me from my enemies. You're my only hope. Teach me how to live to please you, because you're my God. Lead me by your blessed spirit into clear and leveled pasture land. The remembrance of God in days past prompts the recognition of God in today, causing the psalmist to stretch out towards God, looking and listening for a response. I had to look up that word stretch, and it's the same word for the cherubim that have their wings spread out. It's the same word as cherubim have their wings spread out. The psalmist stretches out his hands. He stretches out his hands in urgent need for God. His desire for God is as urgent as a desert's need for rain. Having begun the psalm requesting God to listen, to pay attention, to answer, the psalmist now physically demonstrates where he is spiritually and emotionally. He's at the end of his rope. Where he's stretched thin, he stretches out his hands to God. He's all ears and eyes looking to see God, listening for a word from God. He's looking for the Lord's direction. He's listening for the voice of the Lord in the morning that enables him to go to sleep in the evening. You see, we choose life in the midst of exhaustion, and we resist resignation by stretching out towards God and looking and listening for his response. You see, when I know that this day belongs to God, it causes me to seek God in the day. The degree of our urgency demands a demonstration of our need. We stretch out our hands to God. Big Mama and Papa, they knew what that was about. They'd sing that song, Father, I stretch my hands to thee. No other help I know. If thou withdraw thyself from me, where shall I go? No, they stretched it out because they knew their need for God. And when exhausted, you and we've got to fight against that tendency of shrinking and turning away from God. No, that's the time for us to stretch out and start leaning into God. That's the time to actively and urgently approach God. It's the time to do whatever it takes to advance into the space of God. It's determining that I've got to penetrate heaven. I've got to make contact with God because I need God to make contact with me. Why? Because he's my only hope. That there is no other help or hope. It's all God or nothing. You know what an infant or toddler does when that infant and toddler wants your attention? They stretch their arms. They stretch out their hands. My girls would do this. They say, up please, up please, up please. And their hands were up and their eyes were up because they wanted me to know, I need you to lift me up. I want you to lift me up right now. And friends, that's what we are encouraged to do with God. Stretch out with your request to him and look and listen for his response. You got to stretch out looking for him to show his face, to point the road to travel. Lean in to be able to pick up on the sound of his voice in the morning so that you'll have all that you need for the day and be able to sleep at night. I wonder, am I talking to anybody who's ever had to stretch out towards God? I wonder if there's anybody who found yourself in such a place where you desperately needed to penetrate heaven. You exhausted every other means and your only thing left was God. But you looked back and you lifted both your hands and your eyes to him. You were stretching and you were looking. You were stretching and you were listening. You were all eyes. You were all ears before God because you said, rather than give up, I'm going to look up. I'm going to lift up my eyes unto the hills from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. You heard the words, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. All that you needed was a sound from God. All that you needed was God to look in your direction, because with a look you knew that God saw you. With a look you understood He knows everything about me. With a look He said, I'll see to you. I'll see to it. I'll see you through. I'll see you past. I'll see you over. I'll see you around. Who's been stretching? I'm not talking about just stretching for yourself. You've been stretching for somebody else. You've been stretching for your children. You've been stretching for a spouse. You've been stretching for your grandchildren. You've been stretching for mama and daddy. You've been stretching for a sibling. You've been stretching for a prayer partner. You've been stretching for a situation at work. Whose eyes have been on God? Whose eyes have been on the watchtower waiting on God with eyes and ears open? Who's been listening? Who's been making, my God, God, I need you just to give me a wink. I need you just to give me a grunt. If I can just hear from you, if I can just know that you haven't left me, if I can just know that you're still on my side. And is there anybody who can testify? He showed you the way that you should take. He showed you the pitfalls. He showed you the traps. He's led you to clear and level ground. He said, let me lead you to where your feet won't trip. Let me lead you to where I'll make you strong. Let me lead you to where the green pastures are. Let me lead you to where the still waters are. Is there anybody here who can say, if God had not given me a word, I would not have known what to do, where to go, who to trust? But I'm so glad that when my eyes were on Him and my ears were open to Him, He showed me exactly what I needed to see, what I needed to do, where I needed to do it, because He's God. He speaks, and the sound of His voice is so sweet, my God, that the birds, my God, hush their singing, and the melody that He gives to me within my heart is ringing, and He walks with me, and He talks with me, and He tells me that I'm His own. Has He ever had to tell you, you belong to me? You're not just some run-of-the-mill. You belong to me. I got you. I'm on your side. I'll lead you. I'll handle this. I'll fight this. I'll take care of this. This ain't for you to fight. This is for you to hold your peace and watch me fight your battle. Watch me make the way. Watch me turn it around. Watch me open it up. Watch me be God. Exhausted, at the end of his rope, the psalmist remembers the days of the Lord. He stretches out to the Lord, looking and listening for the Lord's response. God, I need you right now. Not another second, not another minute, not another hour, not another day. I need you right now. And the Lord shows up. But He does so by doing something else. He rests on the integrity of the Lord. Listen to verses 1 and 2 and 11 and 12. This is Him. Listen to this prayer of mine, God. God, pay attention to what I'm asking. Answer me. You're famous for your answers. Do what's right for me. Keep up your reputation, God. Give me life in your justice. Get me out of this trouble in your great love. Vanquish my enemies. Make a clean sweep of those who harass me. And why? Because I'm your servant. You're famous for your answers. Keep up your reputation. The remembrance of the days of old puts the psalmist in touch with who God has shown Himself to be. God has a demonstrated track record. God has a reputation. God is known for certain things. God's made certain promises. And with God as his only hope, the psalmist now is betting on God upholding the integrity of His name. He trusts that God is going to be true to who God is. The God who is famous for answering prayers. He says, God, you famous for answering prayer. Answer mine. God, you're famous for giving life. Give life to me. God, you are just. Get me out of this trouble. God, your love never fails. Deliver me from my enemies. He's resting on the integrity of God. The God who was and the God who did is the God who is and the God who still does. In other words, he's saying God has not stopped being God, and therefore he's not going to stop trusting God. There hasn't been a day that God stopped being who God is. And there won't be a day that stops who God will be, who he is. That's how we choose life when we're tired. By resting on the integrity of God. You see, in the midst of our exhaustion, when we're at the end of the rope, when we're at the point of losing our grip, you need something that you can count on. And the one thing as a believer in God that you can always rely on is God being God. God maintaining his integrity. That God will keep on being God. David speaks to this when he says, he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. David says, when I am prone to get out of line, God brings me back, leads me in the path of righteousness, not for me, but for himself. God does it for his own name's sake, because God has attached his name to David. And God says, I can't let you mess up my name. So there are some things I'm going to do for you, not because you deserve it, but because my name deserves for me to do it. To a people exhausted to the point of resignation that they would say that their way is hidden from God and that God has passed them by. God, through Isaiah, puts them in remembrance of who he is and that they can rest on his integrity. They listen to them. God's way, our way is hidden from God, and God has passed us by. And then God says, why do you say my way is hidden from the Lord and my just claim is passed over by my God? Have you not known? Have you not heard that the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, fainteth not, neither does he grow weary? There is no searching of his understanding. He gives power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But they that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They'll mount up on wings as eagles. They'll run and not get weary. They'll walk and they'll not faint. Those who rest on my integrity, I will come through. I'll renew their strength. They'll mount up on wings as eagles. They'll run and not get weary. They'll walk and not faint. Those who believe that I am still God, they'll renew their strength. They'll mount up on wings as eagles. They'll run and not get weary. They'll walk and not faint, exhausted and weary by the heat of the sun, the harshness of the work, and the sting of the lash. Our forebears were able to choose life because they rested on God's integrity. They would start singing, Go Down Moses, and they were resting on the integrity of God as a liberator. When they sang, God delivered Daniel, and I know he'll deliver me, they were resting on the integrity of God being a deliverer. When they said, were you there when they crucified my Lord? They rested on the integrity of God's presence in the midst of their suffering and God's power over death itself. When God God is the only hope you have, then it is only God. We rest on God because we believe that God will hold to who he is. We trust God because we believe that God is going to be true to himself and that God is going to be true to his word. Oh, my friends, you can always trust that God is going to keep integrity with himself, because God does not lie to you, because he does not lie to himself. God will not fail you because God will not fail himself. And my God, I can see Jesus. He said, I had to rest on the integrity of God the Father. In his humanity, he was exhausted and intimidated, but he stretched himself out to God when he said, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me, but nevertheless not my will, but thy will be done. He stretched himself out 3 times, and 3 times he was all eyes and ears for God, and God gave him the answer. And when God gave him the answer, he rested on the integrity. He got up and said, boys, let's get going. I'm resting on the integrity of my Father. I'm resting on the integrity. He rested on the integrity through the trial. He rested on the integrity when they beat him. He rested on the integrity when he was bearing the cross. He rested on the integrity when he was crucified. He rested on the integrity of God enduring the darkness between the 6th and the 9th hour when he suffered bodily thirst. He went all the way through. The Father was with him. His trust was, if I surrender to you, you'll take care of me. If I go to the cross, you will take care of me. If I suffer and I die, you'll take care of me. I'm not going to hold my life. I'm going to trust you with my life. And because if I can trust you in life, I know I'll trust you in death. If you could revive, my God, the widow of Zarephath through Elijah, if you could raise the Shunammite son through Elijah, if you could raise Jairus' daughter, if you could raise the widow of Nain's son, if you can raise Lazarus through me, then God, I know you can take care of me. I'll die on the cross. If you can raise Lazarus after he was in the grave for 4 days, I know you'll take care of me on the 3rd day. And so, Father, into your hand I commend my spirit, because I'm trusting in your integrity. And sure enough, you know the story. He did die on Friday. They buried him on Friday. They thought it was all over, but then on the 3rd day, God raised him from the dead. God kept his word. God maintained his standard. God kept his reputation. God did just what God said that he would do. And when all that you have is God, when all that you have is only God, you tell yourself, God alone is enough. I wonder, is there anybody who can say, I found God to be good all by himself? I found him to be good when I had to go and fix and meet the doctor. I found him to be good when I got the diagnosis. I found God to be enough when I had to go through the treatment. I found God to be enough. My God, when my body was racked with pain, I found God to be enough in the treatments, in dialysis, in chemo, dealing with high blood pressure. I found God to be God all by himself when my back was against the wall and I could not see a way out, could not see a way through, but God brought me out. God brought me through. God brought me past. God brought me over. You want to know why I preach the way I preach? I know that it's God and God all by himself. Am I talking to anybody in here? Can somebody say, you want to know why I praise the way that I praise? Because I know it was God and God all by himself. You want to know why I believe the way I believe? Because I've had to put my faith on the line, and God came through every time. God never came short of his word. God is God all by himself. And so this day, I'm going to give God the glory. This day, I'm going to give God the honor. This day, I'm going to give God the praise. Why? Because he's unchangeable. He's unshakable. He's unbreakable. He is the God who does all things well. He dried my tears. He lifted up my head. He kept food on my table, kept a roof over my head, kept my children, watched over them, brought them through, brought them out. I'm going to trust God. God. And then when I'm at the end of my rope, I know that God is right there holding me. He is underneath me, holding me up. He will not let me fall. He will not let me drown. He will not let me go down. God, I'm trusting you. Because you're God alone. He's God alone. Not what you're facing, he's God alone. Not what they've said, he's God alone. Not what they're diagnosed, he's God.